It's Lee again. Um, Coming at you from the same living room that I have been coming at you from. Today I wanted to talk about relationships and coming out as trans when you're identify as a lesbian still. Uh, for me, I identify as a lesbian boy, BOI, and I take that, as an umbrella term. One is that I'm a non-op trans guy. uh, and that when I do get surgery, I may or may not get bottom surgery. I don't know. It's kind of a big step that I haven't thought about too much yet. Um, Another is that you're just a lesbian who, may or may not use male pronouns, but you definitely don't necessarily agree with the whole girl stereotype as it's seen so far. Um, but anyway, back to the subject of why I'm talking to you guys today. Uh, it's come to my attention that there are actually a lot of successful trans slash lesbian couples, and I think that's amazing. You know, applause for you guys. As far as me though, I've had two successful trans relationships where I let my partner know that I was trans and they were fine with it. And then I've had two very unsuccessful trans relationships. I dated one girl and we were thinking about getting engaged and doing the whole, kids and marriage, rainbow picket fence, that whole thing. But she couldn't get with the fact that I do not identify as a woman in any sense of the word. So she took that as, it invaded her lesbian identity, which at the time I didn't understand, but I kind of understand now. My thing is, if we both have the same parts, I don't see what the problem is with just saying a word, but it's not the same for everybody. And then I dated another girl who was completely ignorant to the whole gender variations and the whole sexual preference variations. And, when I told her, hey, I'm trans, I prefer male pronouns, her first question was, so you want to be a man? And I was like, I don't want to be a man. I am a man. I just, my body doesn't complement my inner personality or my style, but, I'll just let you know who I am, you know. She was not one that I was going to marry and have the rainbow picket fence with. But she ended up having kids. So I guess she wasn't very much of a lesbian because it was with a guy. But yeah. The thing that really hurt me though is when the chick I was engaged to kind of told me that she loves me, but she couldn't really love me because I'm a guy. And for a long time, it took me a while to get over that fact that not everybody is gonna be accepting of my choice to come out. So a lot of people, I think, at that time wanted me to just say that I was a lesbian and call me she, and the only variation would be that they call me Lee instead of my full name. But hopefully soon Lee will be my full name, so that'll be awesome. Um, but I don't know. It was kind of a shock, like culture shock. I was used to hanging out with a bunch of queers all the time, and everybody that I hung out with was totally fine with calling me he or Z. Um, and they were totally acceptable that I wanted to, still date lesbians while identifying as a male. But, then I kind of hit that brick wall where it's like, reality, hey, not all lesbians are going to be like, yeah, you're a trans guy, that's cool because you haven't had surgery, so we can still, go out, we can still go with the flow like we have been doing. Um, So reality is definitely a bitch. Uh, but there's a lot more people who told me over the years that that just wasn't the right move for me. Obviously, there's someone much later in the future, hopefully, that will accept me for me, will be there for me before my surgery and after, because I also know this fabulous trans woman named Josie. She was a friend of mine until a couple of years ago, and then we kind of lost touch. But she was in a really long-term committed relationship with a guy before she started her transition, and then she transitioned, and the guy kind of did the usual, I'm not okay with this, I'm gay. So he bailed. And to hear her tell the story is really heartbreaking because she's a wonderful woman. She has a great personality. She's very lively. But the fact that they were together for so long, I think it was like 5 years or something, and then just because, she started taking hormones, the guy was like, I can't do this. So, it really sucks. I don't think that the lesbian, gay, bisexual community really understands like some of the things that trans and genderqueer people go through. Because when you just come out as LGB, you expect to like lose some friends, you expect to have problems with family, and then a couple years down the road, it will all work itself out. But when you're trans and you come out as trans, it's like, I don't know. It's really hard. Um, People, I've seen you as one thing for so long, and they get used to that, and they get rooted into these very archaic views of gender and archaic views of sexuality. Not knowing like it's all fluid. It's all fluid. Even if you're a devout Christian, like even in the Bible, there's things that are definitely fluid. Um, in history, there are things that are fluid, and it wasn't seen as against God or anything. It was just seen as another part of life. But it sucks because it's not like trans people. It's not like we're changing. We're not turning into somebody else. We're just becoming more of ourselves. Is the best way I could say it. Um, like I had a talk with my sister not too long ago, and where she wasn't necessarily ignorant about what trans is, but she didn't understand like why I couldn't just be a butch lesbian and be like a strong woman. And I'm like, because I'm not a woman. I've never identified as a woman. When I was younger and puberty started, I was like, oh, I'll get my penis, woohoo! And it never popped out. So I was just like, oh, my balls haven't dropped yet, hence the high voice. And then I grew testicles, and I was like, oh, they just went to the opposite part of my body. Not that I was a dumb kid. Like, I knew the difference, like, physically between male and female, but I just never fit into that. And my sister even told me, like, you were born a tomboy. And I was like, yeah, I really was. And I was fine with that. I had girlfriends in pre-K and in kindergarten. And I think all the way up until, like, second grade, I was pretty much like a Mac Daddy for the ladies. And then I started developing, and girls were like, that's not okay, because my mommy said. So, that was kind of a shock. But, growing up one way and seeing like, this is right and this is wrong, and then or at least for me, I grew up very, A is B, and, you have two very distinct variations. But then I left and I discovered myself. I found my own crowd, and those people were very, they changed my life forever. So much props to Kaleidoscope Youth Center in Columbus, Ohio. Give them a call if you guys ever go there. But yeah, it changed my life. I got to travel and meet people who identify as different things, and that's how I learned about genderqueer. And for a while, um, I identified as genderqueer, but I still prefer male pronouns. You know, like I'm pretty sure when I get surgery, I'll get top surgery and have the rest of what I have just stay as it is. You know, because I like being able to detach my penis. I think that's great. But I also like standing to pee because sitting does not work for me all the time. Unless I'm drunk. But so it's just like the relationships that change when you come out as trans or queer. It's very different from LGBT people, I think. Um, because LGBT people, they're not changing their outside. You know, they're just expressing a part of themselves. But a lot of our community, take it as trans people are kind of doing an injustice, or like we're, stopping the movement somehow to have our own agenda. And it's like, I mean, we're all fighting for the same thing. We all want equality. We all want to be treated as humans. So why is it that because I don't identify with what's in my pants that we're not the same, you know? But who cares? I mean, I've met enough people that I'm still happy with my decision to come out as trans when I was 15. And I've met some really great people, and I've met some not so great people, but those people are no longer in my life. So I don't have to worry about what they think. I think my advice to trans and genderqueer people who haven't come out yet, just work on your own time. It's definitely about coming out to yourself, realizing that you have relationships with people that you really care about, but if they care about you equally as much or even more, then they would understand and they'll still love you for who you are. I know I have people that still love me for being a queer boy who's very crazy at times. But I guess that's all I got for tonight or today, whatever the time it is. So peace, love, and chicken grease.